What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So for today's video, we'll be looking at the pros and cons of Clairvoyance versus Detective's Hunch, and we're going to be looking at which perk you should pick in 2021. Both of these perks are similar to the map that lets you see the aura of a bunch of things like gens, hooks, chests, and a bunch of other stuff. So I thought it'd be a really worthy comparison because they both do really similar things and are activatable in really similar ways. So before we get into the comparisons, I'm first going to be explaining how both of these perks actually work, and then I'm going to be breaking down the pros and cons of both of the perks kind of at the same time with a little side-by-side comparison. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up the video by giving my pick on which perk I think is the better of the two. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. Clairvoyance is Michaela Reed's level 30 teachable that becomes activatable whenever you cleanse a totem. If you're empty-handed, once the perk becomes activatable, you can press the activate ability button exactly like if you were going to use an item. And when you do this, you get to see the aura of the exit gates, generators, hooks, chests, and hatch within a 64-meter range for 10 seconds at tier 3. That 10 seconds doesn't start counting down once you activate it. Basically, this perk is used like an item, so that 10 seconds you could use and save throughout the entire trial, so you don't have to use all 10 seconds all at once. Moving on to Detective's Hunch, which is David Tapp's level 35 teachable. Every time a generator is completed, you get to see the aura of the generators, chests, and totems within a 64-meter range at tier 3 for 10 seconds. And if you're holding a map while this perk is active, all of the objects that you see with that aura get marked on the map. Moving on to the pros and cons of both of these perks, the first thing we're going to compare is what both of these perks see with their auras. Of the 6 possible objects that these perks can read with their aura, Clairvoyance can see 5 out of the 6 of these, being able to see the exit gates, generators, hooks, chests, and hatch, and not being able to see totems, while Detective's Hunch can only see 3 out of 6 of these, with being able to see the gens, chests, and totems. Clairvoyance easily wins in this department, being able to see 5 out of the 6. Being able to see the hatch and the exit gate is a huge advantage, especially in the late game if you have this perk active. The next thing we're going to look at is the range and amount of time that this perk is active. Both of these perks at tier 3 are active for the same amount of time and can see with the same amount of range, both having a 64-meter range for 10 seconds. The only difference is that with Clairvoyance, the 3 tiers have to do with the time being 8, 9, and 10 seconds of being able to activate, while Detective's Hunch, the range is tiered at 32, 48, and 64 meters. Another thing to note about this time and why I think Clairvoyance easily wins in this department as well is that 10 seconds you get of Clairvoyance doesn't get used immediately like with Detective's Hunch. As I said before, this perk is used exactly like an item, so you can save that 10 seconds for the entire trial if you want. You could use all that 10 seconds up right away. You get to pick and choose when you want to use that time that you get, which is really useful. The next thing we're going to look at is how these perks actually get activated. With Clairvoyance, all you have to do is find a totem and cleanse it, and then after that you just have to be empty-handed and have no items, and then you can activate it just like an item whenever you want. While with Detective's Hunch, all that has to happen is a generator completed on the map. You don't have to finish a gen, just any generator on the map. Whenever it gets finished, Detective's Hunch activates for 10 seconds. There are 5 possible totems to cleanse on the map and 5 possible generators to finish on the map as well. So hypothetically, if you were to max all of these out, you'd be able to use these both 5 times for 50 seconds in total. But with that being said, a con about Clairvoyance is that it's a little bit harder to find the totems than it is to find the gens to actually finish. Unless you have a totem tracking perk like Small Game or Counterforce, then Clairvoyance will be really easy to get. That con is also kind of a pro in that finding totems on your own is definitely easier than finishing a generator on your own. So with Clairvoyance, you're definitely going to have more choice as to how many times you want to use it in the trial, whereas with the gens, you don't really get to control if you finish all the gens or how many gens you finish. It's kind of up to your teammates on how many gens they finish. Yes, you do have a bigger chance of getting all 5 uses out of Detective's Hunch rather than getting all 5 totem cleanses on your own because of boon totems and other players cleansing the totems as well. But you don't always finish 5 gens in a trial, so you definitely get more use out of Clairvoyance in those games that you don't get all 5 gens completed than you would with Detective's Hunch. Clairvoyance wins in this department because with Detective's Hunch, you don't really get to control how many times you get it in a trial. But with Clairvoyance, Clairvoyance, you have all the control on how many times you want to get it. The last thing I want to look at when comparing these is the items that you're holding in your hand. This is a little bit bizarre, but with Clairvoyance, you can't be holding any items to use this, which kind of stinks. So if you did bring an item with Clairvoyance, you would not be able to use it. You'd have to drop it to use Clairvoyance, which I think is a pretty big con. On the other hand, with Detective's Hunch, this gets activated regardless of whatever item you have on you. But if you do have a map, you get a really nice bonus in that every object that gets found with the aura of Detective's Hunch automatically gets tracked onto that map. So you're gonna have an insane map if you're really moving around the map and finding a ton of different objects. Detective's Hunch definitely wins in that department, in that you get a bonus for holding a map and you can use it with whatever item you want. Moving on to my pick on what I think is the better perk between Clairvoyance and Detective's Hunch. I think Clairvoyance is definitely the better perk of the two. When comparing both of these perks, Clairvoyance won in almost every department that we compared. It can see 5 out of the 6 possible things that you can read with your aura. The fact that you can read the hatch and the exit gates is super useful in the end game. If you cleanse a totem after all of the gens have been finished, you'll be able to see where the exit gates are super easily, and if you're the last survivor, you'll be able to have a way easier time of finding hatch. You also get to control its use, and it's 10 seconds that you get at tier 3, exactly like an item. It's not like Detective's Hunch where that 10 seconds get used immediately. Finally, you get to control how many times you want to use Clairvoyance, because at the end of the day, you find the totems. You don't really have to rely on your teammates to finish gens. You just have to rely on you finding the totems, and you'll be able to use it up to 5 times in the trial. So yeah guys, that's been the comparison between Clairvoyance and Detective's Hunch. Let me know in the comments what perk you like better between the two, and also let me know other perk comparisons that you would want to see in the future. I think these are really fun videos to make. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshot, and I will see you guys in the next video.